If anybody at Hallmark is listening, I have a suggested card line for you, and I think Dave could be a pilot group. I'm thinking of a subsection of condolence that says, "Sorry, your family's home today."
Dave was so dour. We got on just a couple of minutes ago. Energy's good. Energy's high.
And then
yeah, Johnny and I are like rapping out. It's gonna be a great show. This is gonna be awesome. And then Dave pops in, and I swear we each got like 5 degrees colder. It's like birds stopped flying overhead.
I'm great at parties.
It was seriously like, who farted? And so he's like, my family's home. He's so upset about it.
Why are they home, Dave? We'll do this before we get into our topic, which is beginning your story, that ever difficult beginning.
Get a really good story right now, Dave.
A fucking hurricane came through Florida, so they closed the schools and everything.
I'm become convinced there's nothing good about your state.
You're just now figuring that out.
Ethan was worried about you. He was asking about the hurricane the other day.
About. I thought you just meant globally.
Oh, well,
he's worried about your state of mental health.
It's a normal thing. We talk about it at dinner.
Oh, dinner time conversation. Dave came up in our family too recently about, it was because my in-laws just went to Alaska and they have bears everywhere there, like grizzlies, just walking down the streets and stuff. And so, of course, I thought of Dave.
Dave, could you do that? Could you live in Alaska? I know you like the cold and the lack of people.
But there are bears.
But there are bears.
And they're grizzlies. They're not like...
even out?
Actually, I could live there.
And plus the vampires.
So what would you do about the bears? Just never have any cookies?
I would never leave my house. I mean, come on. I don't leave it right now.
Oh, who can picture Dave alone in a log cabin for
No. I'll find a
picture him now.
I'll find a place it's like close enough to a Target or a town, and I'll live there. And
what would the Target have to be, like an hour away? I mean,
you could chisel it out of the ice up there. Like you have to go in with mountaineering gear.
I literally have 9 Targets within like 5 miles from me.
You must never miss. Do you ever hear that Mitch Hedberg joke where he says, "I tried to go into Target, but I missed"? You walk through the door and a guy's going to help you and go, "Just practicing." All right. So today's topic is going to be getting started, because I actually started something new today. And Dave made a wee, but I didn't know if that was sincere, because I know Dave doesn't like the middle or finishing, but I think you like starting, or you like just the brainstorming.
I like that part.
There you go.
Brainstorming?
Yeah.
All right.
I think starting is hard for everyone, except Rick Beard, apparently. That dude's like, wee!
So we'll talk about that today, but of course, before we talk about that, I think we need to talk about something cool.
Well,
I think a 4-day weekend on Dave's end is something cool.
Let Dave go first, because I think enthusiasm he's gonna split like a sausage right now. He just go.
There's nothing cool.
Wow. Okay. I have something very, very, very cool. This is cool for just our workload and our company and the kind of things that we get to make. Sterling & Stone has hired another full-time employee. And we now have a developmental editor, Clark Chamberlain. And we're so excited about that. I mean, I don't even want to say the word employee, actually. That's not fitting. We have another full-time family member, and our stories are going to get better, more shaped. We'll get them out.
Is he going to be here this weekend too?
This weekend?
I don't get it.
4-day weekend, full-time family member. Never mind. Flew right over your head.
There it went.
Yeah, we're sending everybody to Dave's house if we can find it.
So yeah, we're really, really excited about that. I think that he's just a great addition. He's a really good guy. He's really smart. He knows his story. And we are a story studio. So this is another check off of our 2016 goals list. We had get a developmental editor. And I think that this will, because we are a story studio, this change or addition will affect every part of the company. So yeah, super, super exciting.
I was tempted to follow that up with talking about some of the stuff that Sean and I have been talking about organizationally, but I feel it's probably a little obtuse for most people. And I did just record a whole almanac about
It's
it.
an almanac episode.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, check out the almanac, but kind of a landmark thing as far as perceptually from high level at Sterling and Stone. My actual something cool is a movie that we watched as a family, and it's not new at all, but we just hadn't seen it. And we're trying to, like we run out of things. Not we run out, but we're trying, like, what we have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we want kind of, we don't want to just watch like nothing but Pixar movies, and so we watch every
Hostel?
weekend. It was Hostel.
Or
And
I said, on your grave.
it was actually the Human Centipede. I didn't want to spoil it.
Perfect.
And next week we're watching a Serbian film. So
Oh, your family's gonna love that.
gonna love that.
That's really
We're trying to be more international, and we said, let's watch a French film. No, a Serbian film.
You
So I
should
just
save that for
I
Christmas.
found this one.
You should save it for Christmas.
So there is no Santa or God after you watch that movie. No, it was Maleficent. Have you seen that? Like,
Oh, yeah. I've seen
with
that.
Angelina Jolie. And
Uh-huh.
I was just, from a storytelling standpoint, I just thought it was really, really cool because I'm a fan of reimagining. So like the play Wicked, the musical. I think it's a musical. Is it a musical or a play?
It's a book. It started as a book.
Was
and
it a
then
book first? Okay,
yeah,
I only know the phenomenon that was.
And now it's on ice, I think.
And
Yeah.
it's okay. And that's the Wizard of Oz from the Wicked Witch's standpoint, and Maleficent is the is Sleeping Beauty from the Evil Queen's point of view. And I just thought it was really, really cool. Like, I was crazy impressed with it. I thought it was just going to be kind of cool, but we all really, really liked it. And I just like that as a storyteller, how they took a very simple story and turned it around and showed it from the other end and added this whole mythology behind it. So I recommend it for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I think Disney has done kind of an amazing job on all their like live action reboots of their old stuff.
John Carter from Mars.
That's not a reboot of old stuff, asshole. And you know how I feel about that movie.
It's no Angry Birds.
Right, it's no Angry Birds.
Few things can be. By the way, I got an email saying that I was right about Angry Birds, and you guys are way off.
Oh, well,
So,
whatever.
Well, that
I'd like
proves
to
it
say
then.
fuck you.
Congratulations, person who likes minute-long peen scenes. It's awesome. So I actually met somebody this last weekend who her name's Liz Scully, and she's just kind of amazing. But she worked on John Carter of Mars, and it burned her out. Like, that was the movie. She's like, okay, I'm done. She'd done a lot of movies before then, and like lighting and cameras. But after John Carter, she called it quit.
All right, my something cool. HBO series, The Night Of. I'm gonna assume you guys haven't seen it because it's like within this year.
I haven't seen it.
Really, really good. It's about a guy who is it's a young Pakistani guy in his 20s who is accused of murdering a woman, and it begins on the night he meets the woman, and they skip over her actual murder, so you're in doubt for a lot of the show whether or not he did it. And it's just awesome the way they tell the story. Like, it's a slow burn sort of thing. You're with this guy as he's free, then when he gets put in jail, and then what he has to do in order to survive jail. Omar from The Wire is in there, and that just automatically makes it awesome. John Turturro plays his lawyer, and
I love John Turturro.
oh my god, you'll even love him more. He plays like this lawyer that like nobody likes. Like, he's basically a public defender, and he basically, I hate saying basically over and over. He does plea deals, and he's known as just like kind of like a Better Call Saul, I guess, but not working for organized crime. He winds up defending this kid, and he's got eczema on his feet, so he walks around with flip-flops, and he's always like scratching himself, and it's really disgusting, and everybody's disgusted by him. And it's like this dark comic sort of thing to a very serious show, and like his misery is very real. And as someone that has eczema, I can definitely you feel the pain that he feels. It's like they're like, I was just surprised. I've never seen eczema as part of a story. So, but it was really, really good show. It's a limited series. It's an 8-episode series, so they're not making like a whole thing out of it. But it was just really,
Yeah, that sounds great.
yeah. So
I would say that if any one of us, if you were to do a quiz show type of thing and say, well, one of these guys is going to have something cool involving eczema, I would have gone with Dave.
And to answer, I think Beth asked, is Clark for all our genres? And yeah, pretty much. As we move into romance, that's more specific, and like we'll probably need something else for that. But yeah, Clark will handle everything else.
All right. Well, when I hear eczema, the first thing I think is about book covers, right?
Naturally, I mean.
Well, because think about it. Like some of these, you were talking about people being kind of, bothered by this guy, and that's kind of the way I feel. Like, dude, do you know that your book cover is showing, and that you're kind of cracking and peeling, and just generally kind of repulsing everybody? I don't know. I'm trying not to insult the eczema people, but I'm also trying to roll.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Johnny. Yes, if you want a book cover that is not embarrassing, something that you feel like you have to hide, something that you could proudly display, you want to go to 99designs.com/SPP, because there you'll find talented designers waiting to work on your book cover. We have that page. What's the page URL?
It is sterlingandstone.net/99designs.
Okay, go there if you want to see some of the awesome covers. And we've heard from a lot of people ever since we've been doing these ads, telling us like, wow, it's just awesome, and it's so easy. It's such an easy process, and it's one of those things, like a lot of times when you work with a designer that you're not familiar with, and I'm definitely not crapping on designers. If you have a designer that you love, use them. But a lot of times it's a crapshoot, and a lot of other places are a crapshoot, and you don't know what you're getting. And here's a situation where you have an idea for a cover. You put it out, you have a contest, and all these designers compete. So you actually see what you're going to get before you choose your designer. You have like a mock-up of something, and you could tell like, okay, one of these designs is going to be freaking awesome. And chances are it's going to be even more than one design, because every time we've done a contest, we didn't know which one to choose. There were too many good ones. And, even now, like people send us, hey, I'm doing a 99 designs contest. There's too many good ones. I don't know which one to choose. What do you think? And it's just an awesome, awesome service, and they're a sponsor of ours, and that's why we talk about them every week. But even if we didn't talk about them, we'd still recommend them.
Dave is considering a book where somebody has to choose between two excellent book covers, and the other one will be killed.
Yeah.
Is there eczema involved?
There's nothing on that, the sterlingandstone.net/99designs, and none of those covers actually feature eczema. So I'm thinking there's a loophole in the market right there.
There's a chink in the armor.
Wow. I don't know where to go from there, you guys.
I don't know. Nobody has store. All right. Well, just for any enterprising authors out there, you can go to that. For the rest of you, you can go to 99designs.com/SPP. And if you use that link, you get the special super duper power pack upgrade valued at $99, which gets you more designer time and attention. But more importantly, it gives you the right. Yes, I do say the right to email your finished book cover to help@sterlingandstone. Or is it going to help or to Amy? To help, right? Help at sterlingandstone.net. I don't know why I thought. Don't yell at me, Amy. I'm sorry. I know that's not you anymore. And we'll feature it on that page and all that stuff, and the world can see your genius. But also just let us know. Let us know how the experience goes.
You can also tweet at us if you're having a contest. Only if you're using our link. If you're not using our link, we don't want to hear from you.
Right. At that point, just fuck off. Right. Especially if you're tweeting us, which means that you should be using our link and you're not, because then you're just an asshole.
Yeah, I know you guys have an affiliate link, man, but fuck you. I'm not using it.
But it's not an affiliate link; it's a tracking.
A tracking.
A 99 Designs doesn't
we don't
know that we sent you.
Yeah. So, and it's one I like weighing in on, especially like in the final round. I don't want to see like 9,000 covers, really, because then I'm lost because I'm like I don't fucking know where to go from there.
Especially if his family's home.
Yeah, but if you're like close to the final round, you're trying to decide. Tweet us a link. Definitely check it out and maybe steer you in a direction. I don't know if it'll be the right one because fuck, what do I know?
Steer you in a direction. That's
a direction. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I might not because, like I said, a lot of times, like I don't know which one is better because they're just so freaking awesome. So,
all right. So that's that, and then I actually pitched the topic idea today, which was starting a book. Like what day one, you're moving from your outline or whatever you did in your story shopping process, and that actual first day, because it's taken me a while to realize that I have a process that isn't malfunctioning when it doesn't seem like a normal writing day. Like you'd think I'd know that by now as much as I'd written, but it's like part of the process is just mulling and pacing around the room and thinking. And, normally I write 6,000 to 8,000 words a day, something like that.
Braggart.
Today I wrote 1,500. So it's not that 1,500 is bad, but it is a quarter to a fifth of what I normally do. And that's just, I don't know. Like I want to talk about that because a lot of people are like, okay, I have this great idea, but now how do I begin it? Like, how do I get the first sentence down, those first sentences, those first paragraphs?
Ayahuasca.
Well, John actually had a reference in this current outline. He said, we could do something with a drug, not ayahuasca.
There's other drugs.
Well, I had to very specifically say that because it's
heroin.
Well, he wanted to filter through his resume. He was like, well, hold on. I got all this other great stuff that's just not getting play.
Well, you guys do ayahuasca. I do Percocet. So, I mean, it's all.
It's true. It's true.
And when I say do, I don't mean you're actually doing them, but you're right about them.
No, he's right. Roman Sands is to ayahuasca as CI is to Percocet. It's very true.
My people love their pills.
Right. So, but yeah, I in fact, that's true. I remember I wanted to make Cassidy in White Space. Like a needle junkie, and Dave's like, no, it's got to be pills. Like he fought hard for it. He's like, he wouldn't let me give her the needle.
There's a distinction.
Yeah, clearly. So he had all the scenes where
once you go needle, you're not going back to pills.
But why do you have to go back? Do you need to go back? Did you need pills later?
You never know. I mean, you always need pills, right?
There you go.
Wow. No, I once you cross the line, you're a heroin junkie. I mean, it's a lot harder to come back from that.
But it was because the character you didn't want them to be.
Yeah, the character arc it would not have worked. If she had just gone all the way. She still could. I mean, we got one more season to go. So,
and let's face it, it's Dave, so she probably will.
Pushing for the needle in season 3.
Yeah, and then we're just gonna turn into Requiem for a Dream and. That famous scene.
Finish that sentence, Dave.
Nah, I'm not going to
finish the sentence. What happens in Requiem for a Dream? I've never seen that movie.
It's just really dark.
Well, so we actually do have a topic other than illegal drugs. What? Starting the book.
Yeah, so starting the book. You know what I think the issue is for a lot of people, including myself, it's that it goes. There's some kind of transference once you're ready for your dark and stormy night, right? There's this thing where it goes from the outline being the most important thing you think about, or if you're not outlining, if you're just like pantsing, you've still been thinking about the book for a while, right? It's been a concept. I'm going to do this thing. But then you sit down to write it and the book becomes more important than the concept. It's actually happening.
Especially if it's one of your first books or your first book.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, at this point, I'd say that's still true for us. I mean, to a degree, right?
Yeah.
We've, especially this book, to the Tomorrow Gene that Johnny started today.
I didn't know if we were announcing that. So.
Oh, yeah, we weren't. Sorry.
Okay, well, now we are. So.
There we go. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah. So we weren't announcing that, but the book that Johnny today.
Sean is like the worst, really. He really is.
You know what? It's because I just talk. Like, at least you know you can trust me, motherfuckers.
Say my wife's name, tell people where I live.
Anyway,
everything on his show.
Okay, so our new book, which is coming out next year, and it's going to be awesome, it was started today, and we've been talking about it for a long time. Like this had a pretty heavy development process, and so we did have to make that migration today from this concept that we had into this real live living breathing project.
And for me, it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of importance on that. I mean, so a lot of people, like, writers write differently. I'll be curious to hear how Dave approaches this. I'm a A to Z person.
Heroin.
Percocets.
Yeah.
And, so I'm A to Z, which means that if I don't feel stable in that first paragraph, I can come back to it. And that's actually going to be part of our process going forward, is writing the whole book and then coming back at the end and not rewriting necessarily, but at least revamping that first chapter. But I can't proceed unless it feels good enough, unless it feels like I've given the story good footing. Because some people do that. They'll be like, well, I'll write the second chapter because that's where the action starts, and then I'll come back. No, like, I need to see the kind of the grounding first. And so I just stall. Like, I just kind of think about it. And I remember the Dream Engine was a hard first paragraph for me. Axis of Aaron was really hard. It was something about setting the mood. Like, how do we know what we want the story to do, but where does it start? Like, where is the point where it starts, where it's interesting enough to the reader, but it's not far enough into the story that you're going to lose people with stuff that should have already happened or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of barrel forward, which obviously matches my personality, right? So when I start, I just that first day, I kind of just go.
You're like a woodpecker.
Like, yeah, a little bit. Like, I need to.
Usually just say he's like a pecker.
But if, like,
he's trying to make a nose joke.
I know that it's very possible, likely even, that I'm going to cut like the first 1,500 words, but like, it just helps me to start and then to keep going and to keep moving, because if I'm staring at the page too long, it's like trying to sleep when I'm wide awake.
Beth asked, do you guys get nervous when starting a new book in any way?
Dave?
Yeah. All the time.
Elaborate. How do you get through it? What's that feel like?
It's one of those things where, like, the brainstorming process is the best for me, because like everything is just so wide open, and like it's an exploration sort of thing. But then when you start writing and you start narrowing in your choices, and as you go a little bit further and a little bit further, you start to see like all the things that are wrong with it, all the things you didn't think of, all the things that, like, oh shit, will this work? Oh, what about that? Okay, I had this in mind, but that completely like ruins this whole other thing. And you begin to like think about like all the other things that have to be in place, and worry whether or not you can get them in place, or whether you've chosen the wrong direction, made the wrong story choices. And the more you write, the more you kind of corner yourself. And that's the opposite of the brainstorming. That's an anxious time. It's a claustrophobic time, because you're not sure of your decisions, especially if it just doesn't feel right. Like Available Darkness Book 3, the first draft did not feel right to me at all. And as I was going, it was just getting worse and worse. And it became to a point where like, I was like, oh shit, I made a mistake, and I had to hit the nuclear button and start over. And that's a very difficult process.
What about you, Sean? You seemed ready to answer there.
Well, no, I think that there's just a lot of joy in exploring that stuff. And for me, starting, I'm never nervous. But like, that's kind of my nature, even to my detriment. Like, I'm always excited to start.
This sucks, but I'm happy.
Yeah, like, right. Like, I'm really excited about it. And I feel like all books, if you finish them, are a positive experience. They're all, it's another.
Not all books. Come on.
Yeah, Wait, what book?
Mein Kampf.
Oh, there it is again. Who had 24 minutes?
Oh my God. Okay. Yes, all books so far in my life have been a positive experience in one way or another. Some aren't, especially successful, or some were more difficult, or whatever. They're not like all home runs, but it's unreasonable to ever believe that they would be. And so just going through the experience, part of that's what matters to me. So I'm always like looking forward to it. So I don't think I'm ever nervous, but I think that beginning part is always, always, always most exciting, even if it's tentative. But it's like once you hit into Act 2, and I think, Dave, you put that really well with like narrowing choices, right? Like all of a sudden the tunnel's just getting tighter. And that's true. It's like you are boxed in and you have to keep going. And, the end will probably like roll right along. But the first part, it's exciting. So no, I think my difficulties, like trying to figure out the story and stuff, come right there as we go into the middle.
I like brainstorming through the problems in the middle, especially like when somebody else, like we've talked with each other and stuff about stories, and we've talked to other writers about stories, and that I enjoy getting out of the problem. So that there is some I don't know. Fun. I don't know if that's the right word, but
is that ever the right word in your experience?
No, it's not. Oh, by the way, if you read the Oatmeal today or yesterday, there's a brilliant, I wish I'd made it, comic on fun. Or no, not fun.
I'll bet Sean's in it.
No, happiness. Happiness.
Sean's definitely in it.
Just read that, and you'll understand me. If you want.
If you want to understand Dave, read the Oatmeal September 1st or September 2nd of 2016-ish.
Amy just put it in there.
There you go. Because she had that shit right on her. Like, okay, here's how we understand Dave.
It's the key.
How to be perfectly unhappy. Yeah. Okay.
It's
so
great for any creative, I think, that kind of has trouble with their creativity.
We should put this in the show notes. That's awesome.
For me, it's the starting of the book is I want to. There's a few things I'm trying to do. Number one, I'm trying to set the right tone. I'm trying to, like, if it's a suspenseful book, then I want suspense, pretty early. If it's it doesn't, you wouldn't have to start necessarily with a genre. So if it's horror, I don't know that I'd start with horror, but maybe an implication of something creepy or whatever. But I know that for the Dream Engine, I wanted something that was a little steampunky. Like I wanted to have something that had a big machine in it. And for this book, it's science fiction, but it also has kind of a thriller feel, the one that I started today. And so we needed to establish that there was some, kind of differences in this world, but that there was something intriguing going on, that there was more than met the eye, much like Transformers, and that there was, somebody was keeping a secret, and to be intriguing without being without spoon feeding the reader. So, for instance, like if something is in science fiction, you can have the kind of thing where it's like describing every detail of this ship that's amazing or something like that, or you can just kind of explain things matter-of-factly in a way that's going to kind of make the reader go, I wonder what that is. Like what's that weird thing going on? And so for this, I had a bunch of characters. We knew from the beats, we'd actually done extensive story shopping on this. And so we knew that we wanted these characters in this first scene to kind of be on a tram from one place to another, and that there was some information that we wanted to get in and convey, and we knew who was there. So it seems like we have everything. A scene on a tram with a bunch of people there, and we knew what we needed to establish, and we knew kind of the tone. But it took me a long time to figure out how exactly, like, what should the first interaction be? Should it be, somebody is just talking to somebody all of a sudden, like, excuse me, Mr. Whatever, and then they get into a discussion, or, in Dead City, if you're listening to the Indie Fiction podcast, which you should be. I really like the idea of she's clipping through Alice Frank, our main character, is going through her kind of orientation at the Yosemite Undead Preserve, which establishes a lot of the world and conveys a lot of information without bogging the story down, without being exposition heavy. And it should be interesting to the reader too, because you're like, well, you get right away. I think the pilot asks her right away, have you ever been to Hell on Earth, right? Like that's what they call the Yosemite Preserve, where they put the zombies. And you're just kind of like, well, there's this helicopter and it's going to Hell on Earth, and you just get a lot of world there. And that one actually came pretty easy. But for this one, I knew it was going to be a slower. We weren't going to like jump into action right away, but I wanted to establish right away I didn't want to bog it down. Like I didn't want to be like, okay, now you got to sit through all this shit before you get to the main point. And it took me a long time to decide how I was going to handle it. So anyway, so I thought that this was worth exploring. Boy, I feel like maybe we picked too narrow of a topic. Do we have more to say?
No, I think that, I mean, just think what makes how do you satisfy your reader? What do you do to make sure that their opening experience is amazing? Like, do you have favorite openings in books or in movies? Like, I mean, we can all go to Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Like that's just it's just such a perfect opening to a film, right? Like you know a lot about who he is. There's adventure. There's a lot of mystery. Like it's exciting. It sets the stage, and it's just really, really fantastic. And it immediately grabs your attention. So, like, what are literary equivalents of that? Like, how do you accomplish that same thing?
Well, let's talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I think that that's a really good. Like, a lot of people have that reference. And if you don't remember it, actually the very first scene is it's the Paramount pyramid, right, or a mountain, right? And then it fades out to this mountain in I believe Colombia, I think. And then you just have Indy and his crew walking through the jungles, and they're searching for stuff, and they're like finding the blow darts tipped with poison. They're you get that they're exploring. And I'm trying to think, like, if I knew I was going to write a story about somebody looking for an old artifact, like the Lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, I mean, there's a bunch of ways you could have done that. You could have had him sitting in a classroom and about to receive a lecture about, here's this trip you're going to go on. Or, one of the first things he does is he tries to find his old, I don't know if he's like a mentor or whatever. His name was Abner Ravenwood. It was Karen Allen's father in the movie, whatever, Marion. And like, you could have had him picking up the phone right away to him or something like that. But the reason that I think the beginning works so well that they chose is because it just demonstrates through action, like, this is what this guy does. Like, we hadn't seen the like rogue archaeologist before.
No.
It was a whole new thing.
No, it was really cool. He was like a man of adventure from the 30s, right? When Lucas and Spielberg kind of reinvented him, but they gave him like a really cool, like, he was an archaeologist. That's awesome. And did you ever read that transcript of the like 3-day workshop where they made up Indiana Jones and all of this? It's amazing. You can get it online. Google it, or if we're awesome, it's in the show notes. But it's like,
I love it when we say things hopefully. Like, we aren't gonna, by the way, just so we're clear, we're not going to make any directions here. We're just going to say it and hope that it occurs. This is why we had that discussion, Sean.
It will be in the show notes. Christine already has it right there in the chat.
Oh, I forget that Christine is paying attention. She will make sure.
Yeah. And so it's kind of amazing. Like, a lot of the things that you take for granted as just like, they were born in conversation. And like, you can actually read the moment when Spielberg like thinks of the rolling rock. It's just kind of awesome that this super, super iconic scene, you can actually read word for word the transcript. And one illuminating thing, turns out Indy is a pedophile. Do the math on
what?
On
Hold on. What just happened there?
Yes. So he was.
I don't remember that.
Because do the math between him and Marion. All right, she was like a very underage girl when they had their relationship, and then
did they give their respective ages?
They talk about. They actually have a conversation about this.
Oh,
like,
in So it wasn't an oversight. You're not saying do the math now and oops.
No, they actually discuss it in the meeting room. Like there's an actual conversation between Lawrence Kasdan, George Lucas, and Spielberg about Indiana Jones sleeping with an underage girl.
Was he a teacher at the time?
Yes.
There you go. I mean,
so yeah.
So, but by underage, we're saying
going with the
barely,
trend.
right? Like she was probably 17.
Wait. If he was wasn't he a college instructor? Was he high school?
Well, by the time of the present day, he might not have been.
Yeah, he was maybe in college. Sleeping with a college.
We're spending too much time on this.
Well, you brought up a rather disturbing thing.
I mean, Indiana Jones, that's iconic. What about Santa? Dude's got to be doing the same thing, right?
Who else would want kids sitting on their lap? Come on.
Okay. So let's.
We just edit this whole show out.
Let's take like devices that really put you in the scene, right? So, Indiana Jones did everything right, but like, what about something like Memento? Do you remember the opening scene from Memento? How that starts?
No, I've seen it like 3 times, and I maybe I should have wrote it down to myself.
Is it when he goes to? No, when he goes with Joe Pantalano to the warehouse. Is that?
Yeah, but the opening shot is him shaking that Polaroid. But
it's backwards.
It's backwards, right? So
and then he puts it goes back in the camera.
Yeah, and that's like what the hell? Like it's immediately. It does so much right because it's attention grabbing, like you don't really know what's going on, and it also world builds immediately, right? The fact that it's backwards, like it tells the viewer what to expect, and so I think that's what makes something, like that. That's a really great device in an opening. So think about ways that you can introduce your reader into a really new. I mean, in that it was almost a new way of storytelling, but just a new environment. A new relationship, whatever it is, you are inviting your reader into that. So it's kind of important to set the stage and think about that photograph.
Do you remember the opening scene from Birdemic?
I do.
That set the stage.
I do.
That really did.
What's the opening to Inglourious Bastards.
That was great.
An amazing opening. Like it's the opposite of the Memento one. So the Memento one is, it's
actually the best part of the movie.
I'm wondering if you're on the same web page as I am, because I just looked up great opening scenes and there it is.
No, which one?
Tasteofcinema.com.
No, I don't.
We are doing a show here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, but I hadn't thought of using movie scenes
because they're so visual, and I also think that it's easier to talk movies than books most of the time because we have it's common vocabulary. It's more likely that we can all talk about the same scene in the same movie than we can a book, right? But yeah, the first 15
I haven't ever read any books.
The first 15 minutes of Inglourious Bastards is amazing. Memento has it's a first few seconds, but it's like 15 minutes. I think it's a long opening scene.
Yeah.
But you get to know the villain. It's kind of shocking. There's a lot of amazing things done with language, and it's all setting just amazing context.
And see, now I'm sort of obsessed with trying to think of other good movie openings because it may seem a little arbitrary. Like, well, yeah, you just need to establish who these people are and what they're up to. You just need to basically begin the story. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry, we had a couple questions. Beth Farrar says, "How do you deal with starting different genres? Is there any difference? Any special things to consider?" And Nicole had a question: does starting a second or third book in a series differ from starting a series or the first book?
Yeah, those are both good questions. And
well, I think when you're starting a new genre, you have to be comfortable in the genre before you start. And I think the less familiar you are with a genre, the more difficult it will be.
Well, I also think that genres have definite things that you have to pay attention to. like if you're like if it's a mystery, a body is going to have to be discovered like really relatively soon, and so you have to set that stage. Like there's a certain formula.
Or if it's a children's book, a body.
A romance is
Clifford, it's great at that.
A romance is going to need, you're going to have to meet the characters early on, and you're going to have to understand their needs and wants like pretty immediately, along with their objections to love, and you're going to have the characters meet, really soon. Like you can't drag that out. So I think genre conventions are important to pay attention to. In thriller, like something exciting has to happen. Like there has to be. All books need an inciting event, but it's even more so with a thriller. Like it has to drive hard.
Right, and I think you want to deliver what the people are looking for really early on too, which is what I was trying to articulate about the project that I started today. Is if I just tell this that like our main character is in a tram and he's, there are exceptions to everything, but like if it's a science fiction thriller book and the first scene is like maybe my character has a backstory where he lost his wife. He didn't, but I'm just making this up. And that's all. He's just thinking about that, and that's what is going on in the first scene. Then the people who came to this looking for a science fiction thriller, like fast-paced page turner, are just going to be like, well, okay, so this may get better, but I'm not. You haven't hooked me right away, and
exposition dumps suck in the beginning.
Unless it's literary, you can kind of get away with that sometimes, but you have a more patient reader with something like that anyway. But in romance, you want the spark right away. In thriller, you want the exciting, like kind of terrifying situation right away. In fantasy, you want to get a feel for that it's a fantastical world right away. If you don't deliver that key stuff that the readers of that genre expect, then it doesn't matter how great it gets later. You're not going to hook them.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about before is when you struggle with the beginning to not worry too much. I think the middle part is even more difficult to get through. But if you're struggling through the beginning, move along and come back, because you can always change. You should probably go back and change the beginning.
I think the beginning can always be changed.
Yeah. And
know the story.
You really know what your story's about once you're through it. Hopefully you do. And then you can really like refine that beginning and worry about getting it right then. But I think it's more important to continue through the book, especially if it's holding you up.
I also think you have to know your genre, just not just in the conventions, but in what you can and can't get away with, right? So, the beginning of Magnolia, right? Oh, Johnny, you still haven't seen Magnolia, right?
No, it's actually sitting downstairs on my DVD player and has been for a really long time.
Okay, Dave, you know the beginning, right? Like, Alan, I genuinely don't want to ruin that for Johnny, but it's very different, and it's like it's just really special. It's one of my favorite openings of all time, but it's like it has nothing and everything to do with the rest of the movie, and it's really, really cool in that way. But I don't think that unless you're writing like a literary book, you could get away with an opening like that.
No.
Because it just changes gears. It's a little too artful. Now, if we tried something like that, and now that I'm saying this, I kind of want to. If we tried something like that with our literary books, we could get away with that because it makes sense. But if you're writing a thriller or a mystery or really like anything, especially a romance, that's gonna fall hard. Like that's impossible. You can't do that. So it's not just knowing what you can do, it's knowing what you can't do. And like the beginning of Magnolia would never be in front of a movie like Transformers, right? Transformers is very clearly, it is a popcorn product. And I say that like with no judgment whatsoever. I like popcorn product, but you have to know what it is, because I really love Magnolia too, but I don't think the two could ever go. So I think when you open your story, you really want to pay attention to the experience that the reader is going to get. And while that's always important, like that's important that you follow the tropes, it's important that your page count is about what a reader would expect. Like you want to give them the best possible version of what they expect to get. And there's no more important time than right then in your first few pages where you're setting the scene. So whether you're, super thoughtful like Johnny, in those first few chapters, or that first few paragraphs, and making sure that you're conquering the blank page in the right way, or you're just like a stupid, excited puppy like me and you just get it down knowing you'll cut it later, you do really have to pay attention to that first part.
Think of something like Goodfellas too. Like, do you remember the opening of Goodfellas? Like they're driving down the road at night, and he starts with, I always wanted to be a something like that.
Getting to Goodfellas is amazing.
Right. So and that's actually another thing, because I'm trying to think of like different ways that directors or writers might have chosen to start books or movies, and it would be really straightforward, I think, to be like, I started in the past, right? Like that would kind of make sense, because it's the life of his life in crime in the mafia. But it's like you get a lot of feel for sort of where he ends, and it's kind of one of those things where you get the middle, right? Because you then you go back and you get until he gets to that scene basically, and then go past it. There's been a bunch like that. Like I'm trying to think of another example where they use a scene, and then most of the movie is getting up to that point in time, and then you learn what happens after it. I can't think of any good example.
Yeah, well, Pulp Fiction did that amazingly well. Go. Have you ever seen Go? Go does
no, but what's the opening of Pulp Fiction?
It's the robbery in the diner.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because
yeah. So it's like it's a flash forward or something, right? I think maybe Boogie Nights is a good example of like a movie. Have you guys both seen Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You do or don't?
Do not.
Okay. The first scene's amazing. It's like a long. Goodfellas made me think of it, because in Goodfellas there's the whole like going through the Copacabana and like that long tracking shot that just goes on forever. There's like no cut for 8 minutes or something. Like it's crazy long. Okay, so there's one like that at the beginning of Boogie Nights, and that's how it starts. Like it's across the street, and there's like I don't remember the song. There's some funky disco song, and it goes all the way in the club, and you meet like every single person that's gonna be in the movie is like in that opening scene, and the camera's just turning around, and roller girls all like woo, and you get to meet everybody, and it's really just a artful piece of direction. It's amazing, but it's too much for a book. Like you have to be an amazing storyteller to be able to drop that amount of information in a first chapter, essentially. So if you were to like write a book with the opening chapter that has, like 40 different people in it, and you're just dropping all these names and it's moving really fast from table to table, and like, again, that's a thing that you could get away with in a more literary environment. But if you're writing commercial fiction and you think, oh, I'll just introduce everyone at once, that's going to be a very helter-skelter experience for your reader. So you have to think differently. You can't introduce that many characters in a short space. It's too claustrophobic for a reader unless you are really doing it on purpose and with a lot of craft.
Another one that really, really, really hits them, and I know we're doing movies, but whatever, like a story is a story. That really, really hits the mark in terms of letting you know right away, because I think that the expectation setting is super important. It's not just about hooking the reader; it's about this is what you can expect. So that you look like you really need to say something before I continue. No? Okay. Just making sure, because you looked like you were really going to say something. So this actually isn't the example I was going to give, but I don't know if anybody remembers the opening credits to Seven. Like the credits, not the opening scene, but the credits. It's like this really creepy Discord, and like it looks like flashy shit with razor blades or something.
With 9-inch nails in the background.
Right. And so you're just like, whoa, this movie is fucked up right away. But as far as opening scenes, think of The Matrix, right? So The Matrix, I remember there was a lot of secretiveness about this movie, like mystery, in terms of like, unfortunately nobody can be told what The Matrix is. You have to experience it for yourself. And unless I'm missing something, like it's possible I missed it. But when this movie was coming out, I just remember thinking, this is going to be a really cool movie. I have no idea what's going on, except it's going to be fucking cool, right? Like that, you didn't know
Right.
any of the secrets. By the way, if you're 20 years behind and haven't seen The Matrix, I'm going to spoil shit right now. So, but like no, but you didn't know anything about like the real world and the Matrix being a construct. And so when that scene opened, and I saw it in the theater, and it's it's Trinity's arrest, where the cops are going up. Like,
Yeah, that's such a good opening.
And there's little details too. So like the cop cars are around the hotel, but then the old time car comes up, and you get the feeling it's like a futuristic thing. So you get like this old like Dragnet era car coming up, and those are the guys, those are the agents, and they're wearing sunglasses at night and stuff. And so you know right away that like, okay, normal cops, and then what the fuck is going on with these guys? And then you have the crazy acrobatics and the 360 camera. And they could have started it in the real world, but it's like you just like delivering right away. Like this
But that would have been terrible. That would have been a terrible idea. Yeah, the Matrix is definitely. I think for my parents were there opening night for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and
They heard about the pedophile Indiana Jones. We
they
got to see this. I'm upset, and I want to know who to write my letter to.
They were they always talked about just like the energy in the audience was amazing, because nobody like knew that boulder was coming, and it was just really, really awesome. And there was when he comes out,
nobody knew the boulder was coming. It was in all of the trailers.
it was I don't know, that's what they said. Maybe they didn't watch we didn't have fucking YouTube, and like the only time you saw trailers is if you went to another movie.
Yeah, it was on TV all the time. Whatever.
Oh my god, I hate
You
you.
didn't watch TV.
Why do you ruin everything?
Any other childhood stories you'd like to tell me?
No, fuck you. Anyway, the point is that that was a really exciting opening, and the theater cheered when he got out of the temple. My parents told me that story growing up. Maybe they're liars, Dave.
They probably are.
Booed,
I mean, let's
I
face
booed.
Boo! Done before.
Not realistic at all.
Sean, what I can't figure out is we're talking about openings, and there's one opening that I'm just shocked that you haven't mentioned yet for a movie. What is the best opening?
Oh, Up.
That's the one I was shocked.
Yeah. Up is amazing. Up is such a special opening. It pretty much like ticks every emotional box, and it does it with very little dialogue, and it's just so emotive and just wonderful. If you haven't seen Up, then like the whole movie's good, but the first I don't know, 10, 15 minutes are just like some of the best filmmaking ever.
I wonder when watching that, because I love it too. I wonder when watching it if that was supposed to be a short and they decided, let's use this to turn it into something else. It's so compact and perfect.
No, it wasn't. Pete Docter worked on that. I mean, he's a genius. Pete Docter is the guy who did. He also did Inside Out. Hell of a like. I mean, there's so much emotion and thought, and no, it was a long in development. I mean, it could be, but I don't think so. I think it always started with the house. Like it always started with that idea. But yeah. What's the other PTA? The There Will Be Blood. I know Dave's seen that.
I haven't seen There. No.
Okay, so the beginning to that one is I think it could almost work in it's more literary too, but I think it could work in some genres. What it does this thing. So the beginning of this book, Devil, I'm allowed to announce that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Johnny. All right, so in Devil, which is coming out in a couple of months.
That was a hard first day.
Yeah, I remember, and it's great. The beginning to that book is gorgeous, and it was all tone. Like that was in the beats. There's probably 1,000 words about what the tone needs to be, especially in the opening, right? Like it's really, really talked a lot about that, and it's very intentional. And there's in the way that There Will Be Blood starts. I want to say it's about 15 minutes. And I don't think there's a single line of dialogue. There might be, but I don't think so. I think it's all entirely just you're watching him like go down into a well and like or into a mine and work, and then like he breaks his leg and you're like sharing his pain, and it's hard to watch, but it just does a lot in a very quiet way. And
It sets you up for the whole rest of the movie.
I love that movie. I love that movie. I think it's so good.
It's a masochist movie.
It really isn't. It's just so beautifully made. But anyway, like all those examples are movies, or all those film examples are so good because they're done with so much intention. And I think that's the main takeaway. You know, when you're writing your book, even if you're just plowing through it and you're going to go back and really shape it later, it's the attention that you have to have. You have to really know what you're doing and why. What kind of mood are you trying to create? What kind of experience are you trying to craft for the reader?
You need to know your why.
Yeah, you do need to know your why, damn it. If you do that when you're approaching it, you know, whether you're scared or excited or whatever, you're going to come out, you know, a better artist on the other end because you're creating work with intention.
Yeah. I know that we're near the hour, but because I'm approaching this from, you could be arbitrary in the way that you start a book. Think about if you had the storyline of The Dark Knight and you knew that you wanted to tell this, you know, you already told Batman Begins and you wanted to talk about, you know, that just the next thing that happens with Batman and everything that happens in The Dark Knight. Like I can imagine kind of struggling with the idea of how do you start that story? How do you set expectations for what's going to occur in the rest of the story? How do you set genre expectations? How do you establish the main characters right away in a way that hooks the viewers? And that bank heist scene does it like perfectly, where you just very casually meet the Joker, and
they're all wearing the Joker masks too. So there's like the kind of like the pandemonium, and like the viewers like really on the edge because they want to see what's going to happen.
And then you realize that the criminals are robbing the mafia bank. Like when the clerks start shooting back.
Yeah.
One guy who's like a manager, I've seen him in he's a character actor.
William Fichtner is his name.
Yeah, I like him. And he starts shooting back and it's just like, oh, what the hell is going on in this scene?
Do you know who you're stealing from? Right? Like he's all indignant.
Well, because the Joker is all about like lawlessness, even amongst the lawless. And I think that they establish that right away. Like he's a wild card. And that makes him very different from the other villains that you've seen him face so far. So anyway, I just wanted to toss one more out. Any final thoughts on ways to open a book, tips?
Well, Nicole had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one, she said, how does Sean know that stuff? He has an encyclopedic mind.
He's just very into movies.
Yeah,
I figured he'd probably know it.
Another opening question. If you have an action tone setting prologue, can the regular story opening be quieter? I think it's difficult to do an action prologue. I mean, and get people to care, because if you got the world blowing up on page one, where do you go from there?
I totally disagree with Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say just the opposite, because I can imagine, like, if we're talking action, and I'm thinking like I would go to Namaste for us, and I know a lot of people haven't necessarily read Namaste, but it's an action-heavy book. But the actual beginning of the story is kind of like peaceful, right? Like the beginning.
Well, I'm saying I don't necessarily like to open up with action.
Yes, but that doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. Work. Is we would almost. Okay, so I hate that I know this example, so you guys are just going to make fun of me, but I do happen to know, and it's the first one popped in my head because it's a trope in YA. Is the flash forward, flashback is Twilight, right? Like I know how that ends. So it's she doesn't know him yet or anything like that, but she added this extra piece at the beginning where I think she's like going through the forest and being chased or something. But so basically you say, here's where the story begins, but let's go ahead and give people a taste now of what the book really is going to be. I've done this before in books.
It can also be, it just depends on your genre and the tone you're setting. It's not right or wrong. No,
I just it's difficult to make people care early on about a life and death sort of situation. You really have to get it right. And I see a lot of people do not get it right.
Well, yes, that means I agree with that. Absolutely. But that means that's a craft issue. It's not a structure issue. Structurally, right? Structurally, there's nothing wrong with it. Like think about every Mission Impossible or James Bond movie or anything in that.
Movies are easier.
What'd you say?
Movies are easier.
Yeah, but still in the thriller genre, like you want something like it's different. You have to know who you're writing for. It's definitely not your style, but that's okay.
Well, I open up with a school shooting.
But But
Well,
doesn't that's a tone setter, right?
That's right.
You could have
Exactly.
chosen another thing, but you're like, this is the kind of book you're getting. Like, we want to establish that right away.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, I would say that's a perfect choice of an opening scene. It's a great example. All right, well, so we'll finish on that, and for any of you sticking around for Worst Show Ever, don't. But we're gonna have special.
This one's gonna be good.
Well, but right, okay. So I'm being a little sarcastic or whatever, but we do have special guests today. Although I believe we have them in a half an hour, so I don't know if we're just gonna vamp for a while or what we're gonna.
Oh no, we can have a little
meeting first. Maybe we can do
that's
that.
a good time.
All right, so everybody, that'll be at 3:30 Central Time, so 4:30.
Nobody's in Central. Everyone's on East. Okay.
I know, but I've got you thinking in Central, and this is our podcast, damn it, and Florida doesn't count.
I was so happy when Johnny moved to Austin because now it's 2-1. So now we are Central. Like I had to convert to Eastern for 3 years. This is great.
No, fuck you.
Right.
TV goes by Eastern. You're gonna go by Eastern.
No, it's Central. Later.
All right, everybody. So thanks for listening. Like I said, if you want to watch Worst Show Ever, it's a half an hour from now, and we're gonna have Brian Cohen and Claire Taylor on to try to out Bad News Dave. Or Dave is
no. I'm challenging them. They're supposed to like make good out of bad.
Well, that's what I meant. Like they're confronting the Prince of Darkness and trying to find things.
They're gonna lose. You're gonna watch me destroy 2 people live.
I'm very nervous about today's show. All right, everybody. So thanks for listening. And
before we close, I would like to. Are we closed?
We're not.
Okay. Before we close, I would like to ask if anybody's listening to Dead City and enjoying it to leave us a review, or a review on any of the podcasts that we do.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. To tell your friends, you can search for Indie Fiction Podcast or Dead City on your favorite podcast place, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever else. And if you want to join the list and get Empty Nest, which is the free short story, we have it in ebook format and as narrated by Scott Brick, the same narrator as who did Dead City. It's sterlingandstone.net/IFP for Indie Fiction Podcast. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear that link and you can get it.
Yeah, but we would
please
love
tell your friends, please share.
Please tell your friends, and we
review.
would love reviews on our podcast. They really do help. So
if we're gonna plug our shit, Available Darkness Book 3 came out this year. This was a trilogy.
This is the fourth act in AI.
Yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.